Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about.
Take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his...
Tensions exploded at the press conference when Anthony Joshua confronted Jake Paul over what he felt was blatant disrespect. Joshua, usually composed, reacted with visible frustration as Paul's comments and attitude pushed him over the edge. The heavyweight champion made it clear that he felt Paul had crossed a line, and the heated exchange set the tone for the intense discussions that followed. The fiery press conference was only the beginning. As the boxing world absorbed what had happened between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, experts quickly jumped in to analyze the risks and broader meaning of the potential matchup. Legendary trainer Barry McGuigan delivered some of the strongest criticism. Drawing from decades around world-class punchers, McGuigan explained that even experienced fighters feel genuine fear when stepping in front of someone with real knockout power. He stressed that in heavyweight boxing, a single clean punch can flip a fight upside down instantly, and that this element of danger makes the Joshua-Paul matchup far more serious than many people realize.
Some people are saying, AJ's grabbing the bag. There's nothing wrong with that, because anybody else, if they got offered that kind of money, they would do it. So, yep. And some people are suggesting he might damage his legacy. Where do you sit with the decision of him taking that fight? And it's a professional 8-round fight as well.
Yes, it's a highly dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I don't know what he's doing, unless they have done some sort of caveat or some sort of agreement that he says he's going to go easy on him, or he's not going to go flat out. But I've been tossing this up and down in my mind and trying to figure how in under God, when he had agreed to fight someone like Tank Davis, who is several divisions below him. That's more like what Jake Paul does, and then he goes from there to fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, just look at what happened to Francis Ngannou, who's a big, athletic, tough guy and had gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury and given him a real ding-dong. And then he gets absolutely obliterated in a round and a half against Joshua. That shows you, despite the fact that he's been knocked out since by Daniel Dubois, who could knock out anybody, by the way, in any weight division or in any era of the heavyweight division. He's such a powerful guy. He could knock anybody out if he hits him properly. But it just seems utter madness. And
Wade, host of the Wade Concept podcast, revealed that Jake Paul's secret weapon in preparing for Joshua has now been uncovered. According to him, Paul has been sparring consistently with multiple heavyweights designed to mimic Joshua's height, size, reach, and fighting style. These sessions, Wade explains, aren't light work. They're Paul's way of exposing himself to authentic heavyweight power, timing adjustments, and real fight conditions. By practicing counters, distance control, and defensive reactions against bigger, stronger opponents, Paul is attempting to close the gap in experience and adapt to the unique threats Joshua poses.
Anthony Joshua fight if you're Jake Paul, who hasn't fought someone in the realistically the top 50. I know Tommy Fury is ranked in the top 50, but anyone that is a top 50 fighter, even in your weight class, let alone a top 10, top 5 heavyweight in Anthony Joshua, who was a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Can you get prepared for a guy like that if you brought in, let's just say, a deity, freaking Zeus, Hercules, whoever, to prepare you? Could you do it? I don't think that Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about. But I will say, there were rumors going around that Jake was not taking this fight as seriously as he needed to. That Jake was dilly-dallying, flying to go see F1 in Miami after his press conference, and then going to see his girl all the way in the Netherlands if she's trying to qualify for, I think, the Olympics or something else. There was this post from his girlfriend. I don't know if, again, this was in the Netherlands or where it was at, or maybe this is an old picture, but Jake flying around the world when he has a fight in about 4 weeks is probably not the greatest look, and it doesn't seem to make it look like he's taking it as serious as he needs to, locked away in the gyms of Puerto Rico. Now, again, that could have been a different picture. That could have been something else, but that's pretty shocking to see. With that being said, I want to push back on that because I do think Jake is taking this as seriously as he absolutely needs to, because this is not only the toughest fight of his career, it's the most dangerous to the longevity of his career, to his health and well-being. And so to do something like that, you need to bring in the best help possible to get ready. We already heard that Jake Paul was preparing it for Anthony Joshua by sparring the guy that Anthony Joshua was about to fight in Cassius Chaney, this gentleman right here, who was 24-3 from B-More, aka the DMV, and apparently is a top 100 heavyweight, even though it doesn't say he's actually a top 100 heavyweight, but that was what he was being marketed as.
Former professional boxer and analyst Spencer Oliver offered a more philosophical take on the fight. He argued that Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul goes beyond the typical sporting stakes. It represents a cultural and symbolic moment for modern boxing. Oliver compared the situation to the era of Muhammad Ali, who often took unconventional, spectacle-driven matchups that captured worldwide attention. In similar fashion, Joshua stepping into a fight with Jake Paul could invite a massive crossover audience into boxing. He explained that this matchup merges traditional boxing fans with a younger, digitally engaged demographic who follow Paul through YouTube, TikTok, and social media. The fight becomes more than just a contest, it becomes an event capable of expanding boxing's global reach, boosting sponsorship revenue, and pushing the sport into new cultural spaces. Oliver emphasized that, like Ali's unique showpiece fights, this bout could redefine how boxing interacts with entertainment, bringing millions of new eyes to the sport while challenging Joshua to stay disciplined in a highly unusual scenario.
Pops him a few times in the face, walks out of 150 million quid. No one will remember the fact he fought Jake Paul. They'll remember the fact he knocked Klitschko out in Wembley in 2017.
Totally agree with that.
So I'm kind of, whilst I don't like it, and I don't like the way that Jake Paul gravitates to these brilliant athletes and like a moth sucks the life out of them because he gets a benefit of association, because I think they deserve all the association. But he is a and there was opportunity there, wasn't there?
Listen, commercially, of course it works because it'll be huge and there'll be a load of money on the table. For Anthony Joshua, it's like sort of, you know, he's going to get rewarded very well with no risk, minimal risk, no risk at all. He's going to go in there and he may then put all this stuff to bed with Jake Paul and calling out all these different champions, etc., etc. So, of course it works. And when you're talking about, you know, the credibility that Joshua's going to get, he's not going to get none now, but are people going to remember that? Of course they're not. Like, when he goes on to do what he does, didn't Muhammad Ali have some sort of strange fight in the middle of his career? Didn't he box? Yeah, he did. He boxed some non-boxing guy and whatnot. Like, people don't remember that. That's what I'm saying. Look, us as boxers, we don't remember stuff like that.
It was replicated in so, he did a version of fighting Thunderlips, didn't he? So,
veteran analyst Gareth A. Davies voiced serious concerns about safety. He highlighted the enormous weight difference, the gap in elite experience, and the devastating consequences that could arise if Joshua lands clean early. Davies argued that while the idea of a YouTube star facing a former unified heavyweight champion might sound exciting, it also tests the limits of what should be allowed in a sanctioned fight. He stressed that regulatory bodies must thoroughly assess the matchup because a misjudgment could lead to dangerous or even catastrophic results. In his view, the spectacle is interesting, but the physical risks are undeniably high.
So, as I am with you, there is a danger in this fight. The odds are, Joshua's 1-12, obviously. Jake Paul is 6-1, yeah, to win this fight in a two-horse race in which this is a guy who lost to Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's brother, in an 8-round fight, who... For me, I wrote that it would damage his legacy a week ago. It will damage his legacy for several reasons. If the Deontay Wilder fight never emerges, which it looks like it isn't, I've been calling for that fight for ages. If those two got in a ring together, it's still a massive fight. It's a dangerous fight to sanction, in my view. It sets the wrong precedent. It is 10-ounce gloves, it is a boxing match, it's not an exhibition. This isn't a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. This is one of the most dangerous finishers in the world, who is probably 5 levels above Jake Paul and a weight division above him. I think it's irresponsible to let those two in a ring together in a proper boxing match. That's my view. It doesn't damage his bank balance, but if he earns $70 million US for this, I'll win.
analysts Angelo and Josh took a more technical approach, breaking down the matchup based on skill, reflexes, and natural fighting ability. They argued that Jake Paul, while undeniably brave and improving, still falls far short of the level possessed by elite heavyweights like Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. Fighters in that tier, they explained, combine timing, accuracy, ring IQ, and explosive power in ways that cannot be replicated by smaller fighters or newcomers to the sport. They emphasized that courage does not equal technical mastery, and confidence cannot replace the years of hard training and instinctive awareness that seasoned heavyweights carry. From their standpoint, Paul is simply facing athletes built and trained for destruction at a level he has never experienced.
Don't think that he could compete at the highest level, and I don't think he'd beat the top 5, top 6 guys. But that in that weight class is where he'd be at, like say 180, 188 or 189, somewhere around there is where he'd probably compete. There's not a lot of talent there though, so he might be pretty good in those weight classes. Him competing in the heavyweight division against like Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anybody else, no, he gets annihilated. I'm very surprised he signed this fight.
I was shocked he signed this fight. I texted my buddy Bo because Bo follows boxing really well, and I texted him. I was like, dude, we might see a death. And he said the same thing. He's like, I cannot believe he but the numbers, the numbers that are, nobody knows the true payouts. They're saying it's around $200 million that they're splitting evenly. So they're getting about $100 million each. He said that it was $267 million. So I don't know who you believe or don't believe, or it could be they're splitting 200 and the 67 delta, they had to pay DAZN because Anthony Joshua has a contract with DAZN. And this fight's going to be on Netflix. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
So they, which makes, how the hell?
Please stop saying DAZN, okay?
DAZN.
That's like Saint Benoit, okay?
Where's the O in DAZN?
It's DAZN.
Well, there's no O or no E at the end.
DAZN.
But so they basically had to buy Anthony Joshua his permission.
Analyst Henry offered an important reminder: the risk is not one-sided. While most people focus on the danger Jake Paul faces, Henry stressed that Anthony Joshua also carries real risk. If Joshua makes even a minor mistake, underestimates Paul, lets his guard down, or fails to dominate early, it could harm his reputation. Because Joshua is expected to win convincingly, anything less than a flawless performance could be seen as damaging. This means Joshua enters the fight with enormous pressure. A win is expected, but a perfect win is required. In that sense, both fighters are risking their reputations, their public image, and the future direction of their careers.
Creates immense risk for Joshua is because even if Joshua wins this fight, it has to be perfect. There cannot be a moment of hesitation from Anthony Joshua. He can't look mentally shot. He can't take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his credibility. All the things that have ever been said about him, he's a hype job, he's been coddled. He didn't really want to fight Deontay Wilder when they were both in their prime. He's just a big bodybuilder, as Tyson Fury loves to put it. Anyone who's ever doubted him will have absolute ability to do so. And so the fact that this is actually a sanctioned fight, it tells me that Anthony Joshua cannot be going in there, or will not go in there and try to carry Jake Paul. Otherwise, it might as well just be an exhibition. If he does go in there and carry Jake Paul, my fear for him is that most people will not be aware that that's what he's doing. Reputationally, it would just cause serious damage. And like I say, I think the only way he comes out of this unscathed, reputationally, is by going in there and securing a clean knockout. Anthony Joshua can't do anything to boost how people view him as a boxer in this fight. All it can do is damage him, unless he's punch perfect. He's fighting someone who realistically has nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. And that in itself can be dangerous, it can be risky. And given that Jake Paul has achieved so little, given that Anthony Joshua wants to remain relevant and credible, so it seems, because he has a couple of potentially big fights left, especially against Tyson Fury, why is he doing this? He doesn't want to jeopardize that, surely. Well, I can tell you exactly how I think he has rationalized this in his mind. The first thing is that he's going to get paid an absolute shed load of money. Around 50 million is what we're hearing. I've heard 50 million pounds, 50 million USD, but whatever happens, it's a significant amount of cash. Possibly will be one of his highest ever career paydays, possibly similar to what he'd make for a Tyson Fury fight. But for what? Like 1% of the risk? I don't know how to...
Promoter Eddie Hearn focused on the financial and strategic side of things. He explained that the offer presented to Anthony Joshua is massive, so large that it would be difficult for any fighter, even a former world champion, to turn down. Hearn pointed out that Joshua has already achieved nearly everything within the sport: world titles, stadium victories, global fame. At this stage, a fight with Jake Paul is less about proving himself and more about maximizing earnings, expanding global visibility, and making smart business decisions. In Hearn's view, the fight blends sport with entertainment and financial opportunity, representing a strategic career move rather than a necessity.
Got a ring by Mike Coppinger, that one's in the works and looking likely for December. What can you tell?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, there has been conversations, obviously. I think it comes down to how true, they are. Jake Paul is that he actually wants to fight. I mean, he's a madman if he wants to fight. But for some reason, and he thinks he can beat AJ. And I have to be honest, we were going to have a run out in December, over 8 rounds against a bloke you've never heard of. And we may end up having a run out against Jake Paul for a career high payday. I don't see how we can turn it down.
When I asked you about it a couple of days ago, you said that at that time you never really got into the financials. Have those been discussed now? Have you discussed the financial element?
Yeah, there has been some conversations around that, and it is, it's a huge amount of money. And I think AJ would be mad if he didn't do it, and I think he will do it if Jake Paul is genuine. We may wake up tomorrow with these people and they've announced another fight. Honestly, anything could happen. So I still can't get my head around the fact that this guy wants to challenge AJ. There's some respect to him if it's true, but we shall see.
To end on that note, I spoke to Alfie Sharman earlier. He said that himself or DAZN have had no conversations about AJ potentially taking that fight. Obviously, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. What's the situation with regards to that? Because I know everyone here.
The fight's done. Obviously, it's not done because those conversations have to take place. I'm very confident that I can have some positive conversations with DAZN. Obviously, we'll be on a clock, but it's a 50-50.
Last one from me. I saw Chris McKenna tweeted that Anthony Joshua currently doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control licence. Obviously, it's not unusual for someone who isn't fighting currently and is inactive to let it run out. But he would have to apply for one to face Jake Paul again, and then they'd have to approve a fight. Do you think that...
Former champion David Haye emphasized boxing's eternal truth: nothing is ever guaranteed. He warned that overlooking an opponent, any opponent, is one of the most dangerous mistakes a fighter can make. While Joshua is the overwhelming favorite, Haye argued that Paul still deserves respect for stepping into the ring, and his unpredictability leaves room for unexpected moments. Haye believes that the uncertainty is part of what makes the fight compelling. Fans will watch closely because in boxing, a single moment can change everything.
It was only a couple of months ago that we were told it was really close, and then it was Jake and Tank, and now that's off for other reasons. Your initial reaction to the fact that December Miami might be on?
Yeah, jumping from Gervonta Davis all the way up to Anthony Joshua seems absurd. It doesn't seem like it's a reality.
Seems very Jake Paul.
But sometimes these crazy things. Who would have ever thought Francis Ngannou would get a shot against Tyson Fury? When we first started talking about it, it's like that's never going to happen. And when it did, we saw Tyson Fury have a very, very tough night, get knocked down and scrape through on points. Anything's possible in boxing. I think the chances of Jake Paul beating Anthony Joshua, I don't know, he's got a very, very low chance. I can't see any way that Jake Paul can win a boxing match with 10, 12-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, world champion, silver medalist, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion. He's a top 10, top 5 in some people's arguments, heavyweight, and he hasn't gone that far over the hill. He's not Mike Tyson, nearly 60 years old. I can't see it happening, but if it can happen and AJ wants it, then obviously it's going to be a massive, massive payday as well as a massive spectacle. It would be an absolute crush box office numbers, and unfortunately for Jake, that will be potentially his last fight in boxing.
And that wraps up today's episode. Stay tuned for more updates, expert insights, and comprehensive coverage as the Joshua vs. Paul story continues to develop.